At number 5 on the iconic 100 is the 2003 Exquisite RPA of LeBron James. And here to talk about it today is Jamison Long, Exquisite Sports Collectibles on Instagram. Jamison, this is the RPA, is it not?
I mean, there's really no doubt about it. It's that perfect combination of set meets design meets player all rolled into one. And the 0304, I know we had Ultimate Collection and thing, but really 0304 was the birth of the modern high-end basketball card as we know it today. And really that whole set was created because it was LeBron's rookie year. I mean, without LeBron, that set's probably not made that year.
I think that's true.
So he is kind of the originator. And he is probably one of the rare cases of where not only did he meet the hype, in many ways he's probably exceeded the hype because he wore a heavy burden coming into the NBA. And not to say that he didn't have his falters and stuff, but when you take a look back, and I'm not a huge fan, but I can recognize and respect the basketball player that he has become and is. So
as I look at this card, and where it's placed on the list, a couple things kind of come to my mind. Number 5 is really high, right? Like there's 4 cards left. They're the most iconic cards ever.
Yeah.
And the thing that they all have going for them is they're older, and we've thought about them for a really long time.
Sure.
The question that I have is, everything you said is true about its place in history. It's the first exquisite set. It's the one of the greatest players of all time. It's numbered to 99. It's perfect patch autograph to 99. I mean, it's got everything going for it. Is there anything that it can do to get into that top 4? Do you think it can get there?
It's going to be, I think we talked about it earlier, like when we talked about the Steph RPA, right? Is in these generational cycles, do athletes start exceeding athletes as older generations kind of fizzle out, right? And so, if and I don't know what the top 4 cards are, but I'm guessing, some are some older baseball players, right? And so, when you take a look at like where baseball stacks up to the younger generations compared to basketball, what happens? Does basketball start to flip baseball in some of these iconics? Does LeBron James become a more iconic athlete than a Mickey Mantle or a Babe Ruth? What does LeBron James can he somehow put another championship team together? Or what happens to LeBron James after playing basketball? Does his star continue to rise because he's got his hands in a ton of different things? So I mean, there's all these different elements that come and the interesting thing is as the card market maybe continues to expand and becomes more global. We all know basketball is a more global game than probably anything but soccer, right? And so as this hobby maybe continues to expand and people start to filter in, are people from these other countries, again, going back, are they going to recognize a Mickey Mantle or Babe Ruth? Or is it, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Stephen Curry, Luka Doncic, Giannis? I know those guys. They're on TV every time I turn it on. So
Right.
It'll be interesting to see as we cycle through generations, do these athletes that have been held in such high revere kind of fizzle a little bit, just as the people that actually saw them play are kind of no longer around?
Yeah, I think, man, that's just such a good question. And the answer is we don't know, right? Like, what are people going to think about Honus Wagner and Mickey Mantle in 20 years? I don't know, but nobody that's collecting today saw Honus play, but he's still the guy. So I think some of it has to do with the history of sports card collecting, and predicting the future is next to impossible. The thing that is assured, I think, at this point for this card is, look, LeBron's cemented himself toward the top of the greatest of all time list. Whether you have him 1 or 2 or just a little bit lower, everybody's there in that area, right? There's 99 of these cards. It is a ghost. You see one for auction right now, maybe a little bit more than usual, just because of the way that the market has changed. But you're over the course of the last couple of years, we've gone a few months at a time without seeing one. Where are we going to be at in 10 years? Where are we going to be at in 20 years? And to your point, these guys who are growing up today, who are collecting today, some of them are going to look back at this card and they're going to say, man, yeah, I remember that. That's like the greatest modern card ever. And there's only 99 of it. And from that perspective, you can see it still growing. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Also, too, I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, vintage baseball is not my specialty, and I don't know how many Wagners exist out there in their various grades and everything.
Like in the 60s. In the 60s.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, overall, as time goes by, you know, I mean, I think the LeBron's probably, you know, in an 8.5, you know, which I think is an average grade, is probably around $1 million card, give or take, right now. You know, also because there is 99 of them, you know, there's a few more, you know, but I'd be interested to see what the market cap is, one versus the other over time, how that adjusts, you know, because that can sometimes be a little bit broader, a little bit better way to analyze. Okay, yes, there's 99 of them, and on as a unit they may sell a little bit less, but the overall market cap of people willing to spend is actually a little bit greater, overall for the card. So it'll be an interesting dynamic to look at over time.
That's interesting. In one of the early issues of Basketball Card Fanatic, we looked at that and we asked, is market cap a proxy for how people view whether something's iconic? The thing that kind of blows that up is like the David Robinson Hoops rookie and some of these other cards that are considered really iconic, but they don't have tremendous value. But for the most part, it is a good way to look at it. If we were to do the market cap today, the Honus still blows the LeBron, just blows it out of the water. But with that said, I think that how people view this card over the years is going to be really interesting, because it's not like the other cards around it on the list. The other cards around it on the list are largely, other than, you know, maybe one or two. We did the Brady contenders yesterday. That card and this one maybe have some similarities, but the other cards that are on this list, they're largely cards that we've known about for a really long time. And I wish I had a LeBron James RPA, honestly, because it's such an important moment in the history of sports card collecting. And I feel like number 5, some people are going to scoff at that and think it's a little bit high. It wasn't top 5 on my list, I'm not going to lie, but I still like where it is because I recognize its historical importance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I'm not a LeBron fan, and, you know, I had it at number 4 on my list, you know, which it speaks to what I feel the importance of the card is. I think it's also, I think it's a card that it's hard to capture the beauty in a scan or in an auction sometimes because of the hollow foil background that is so subtle on the card, that when you get it in your hand and you can actually like appreciate the card, I think it's one of those cards that really speaks a lot louder when you're able to hold it in your hand and appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I would expect, I mean, to me, I see that the Brady champ ticket and this LeBron as the most 2 important modern day cards. I think they're the most, you know, accomplished athletes in the modern day that have a card, a significant rookie card that low print. I mean, obviously, if Michael Jordan had something similar, it would probably be the number 1 card on the list, you know, but he just doesn't, you know. And so it really comes back to the LeBron and the Brady. And you know, they are the 2 most accomplished, well-known athletes of this, you know, 2000 and forward generation, I would say.
For what it's worth, before I let you go, Jamison, your list, as far as top 10, your top 9, the lowest card on your top 9 came out as number 12 total. And so as far as your list goes compared to the average, yours was consistent, more consistent than just about anybody else's. I think you did a fantastic job of it. I'm grateful that you're willing to take the time. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, thank you for taking the time to do it and making these videos. And I love your perspective. And although I didn't have LeBron quite as high, I do get it. I see what you're getting at on this particular card. And like we said, it'll be interesting to see how the world changes it going, or views it going forward. Next time we're going to hit tomorrow, we're going to hit card number 4 on the iconic 100 list. And until then, happy collecting.